served himself as a helicopter pilot in the military for over 20 years, but now involved as a civilian freelance helicopter pilot working on the air ambulances.
Yeah, Neil, I first met Neil in 2000. He literally just left the RAF. He was at Southport Air Show at Shawbury. He'd done 20 years, and he taught me to fly. The first military machine was a Gazelle, so he took me on greay.
Aerobatic team for 2014, the Renault! And then he also spent 3 years as the official advisor to the Royal Saudi Air Force's display team. Part of the flat display now, you see Red's 4 and 5 pitch up to roll back rapidly. To see a very wide shape form now. Red's 8 and 9 will move to the outsides, and from Red 9's left wingtip through to Red 8's right wingtip, the formation will now measure 100 metres or 300 feet wide. For you, Phoenix! Getting very dizzy with the red smoke on is Red 5, Flight Lieutenant Steve Morris. Steve's of the battle agreement. Very much a time warp aircraft. He commenced the work for this in 1934, with the prototype Hurricane first making its flight in November 1935. Historically, the Hurricane was the first British monoplane 8-gun fighter. It's worth noting the aircraft still holds the official speed record of 249 miles an hour, set well over 25 years ago now. And with even all the modifications and weapons on the frontline aircraft, they can still reach close to 200 miles an hour. Then, if you imagine sitting in the seat there, they're pulling the controls back over their shoulder and then departing. A pretty standard operational departure, particularly in the likes of Afghanistan, and no doubt regularly used, of course, also on departures from decks as well.
Yeah, well, if you say the kitchen's kind of kitchen.
Now, normally at this stage in the show, the crew would actually land on to the tarmac and show you the performance with the cast-string nose wheel, which they have on the front of the helicopter. But with no really hard firm, I think it is unlikely they'll be doing that entirely on the sand. So they'll just come into a hover in front of you there for a moment. Of course, the ability to do that enables them to spin on the spot, which allows the aircraft to turn into wind on the back of a warship, and thus giving it more flexibility so that the ship doesn't have to turn in order for it to launch from the flight deck. Now climbing up in a 360-degree manoeuvre. This lynx is typical of many used in the counter-piracy and counter-drugs operations that are going on at present, but its primary role is as a maritime attack helicopter capable of attacking ships on the surface or submarines below it with its sea-skimming missiles or modern torpedoes. Going back out now onto that B-axis. 814, 820, 829, they're all frontline and contribute to operations around the globe in virtually any weather, day and night. And the 4th Squadron, the one whose aircraft you see here right in front of you today, 824 Squadron, is responsible for training all new aircrew and engineers. The aircraft's primary role is to hunt and, if necessary, attack hostile submarines. To help it do that, it's equipped with specialized radar and sonar combat systems that will allow it to detect, track and destroy enemy craft. The aircraft also hunts very effectively in the anti-surface warfare arena. To carry out those roles, it can be armed with up to 4 Stingray torpedoes, depth charges and a variety of machine guns. Of course, being a large utility helicopter, it's also capable in the ground support or trooping role, search and rescue and casualty evacuation. Looking very menacing there as it comes by at low level with the lights flashing against that very dull, grey, dank sky. This display. Quiet inverted pass there, but lighting up those burners again and pulling around 8 to 9G in very tight turns indeed. Noel, of course, protected with pretty much a full bodysuit against the excessive G and keeping him alert and indeed the brain working as well. Otherwise, all that blood would rush to the feet and the legs and he would very soon black out. Supporting and managing both the pilot and the aircraft. Great background there, there's massive burners just lighting up the sky. Well, enjoy this wonderful aircraft and listen out for the distinctive sound of the wind whistling over the gun ports there. It's very much like holding a bottle to your lips and blowing over the top. It is a truly marvellous machine. Well, you know a lot about Peter Teichmann and how he displays his aircraft, having seen his Mark IIB Harry Bomber a little earlier in the day. Well, you can see now how he displays one of his favourite aircraft in that remarkable collection he has. This one, actually known as Jumping Jack, it was initially was earmarked for service by the 8th Air Force in England, but was changed to another project and mission in the Mediterranean Theatre of Operations. This aircraft entered combat
combat with the 15th Air Force around March 1945 and serving out the last few months of the war on escort and ground attack sweeps over Germany, Austria and Czechoslovakia. Still carrying the battle scars to the day. If you've not seen the two in formation before now, the creation of what is a very remarkable history. The Lancasters. Were lost on operations and another 200 or so destroyed or written off in crashes. Many of the Lancasters did not survive the war, were simply scrapped, and when their services no longer required, of course, the contribution of the Royal Canadian Air Force pilots and crews, of course. Let us remember the 55,000 plus who gave their lives during the Second World War, the many fresh-faced young men who gave their best, many never to return. We salute you. Well, Keith, as they run in now, they're going to pull it right up. They're going to a bit of a zoom climb up to about 800 or 900 feet. And then alongside Mr. Kildee is Captain Neil Posthumus. He's also currently the 2IC, the second in command of the squadron. And he'll be checking all the T's and P's, checking the cloud base. And then he will say all is ready for the signature maneuver of Army Aviation. Coming up now, stand by with your cameras. The backflip. Now, Mick Kildee got into aerobatic flying during his time as a fixed-wing flying instructor, and again he did that on the tutor aircraft, which you saw earlier on today, and now passing on those skills to some of his helicopter students at Little Wallop. Will be replaced by the new Wildcat, which is coming into service and already being flown on the display world by the Royal Navy. And of course they will then combine their training at Yeovilton. That is already underway, and most of the Lynx regiments will reform up. One regiment from Germany has already moved to Yeovilton, and 9 will join it in due course. Pulling up now, they go high nose up, and then they'll push hard over into a nose down. Very uncomfortable position, all the blood now rushing up to their head as they move on left along the display line.